Um dia antes da Gamescom, nós temos aqui um novo trailer de Silent Hill 2 Remake e não somente isso, como temos também hands-on, alguns portais puderam testar o jogo e mandar pra gente algumas das impressões deles. Então, rapaziada, vem comigo, a gente tem muita coisa pra poder reagir nesse vídeo e comentar também um pouco com vocês. É claro, se curtiu o vídeo, não esquece de deixar aquele crítico aí no like, se inscreve no canal e segue a gente nas nossas redes sociais. Mas ó, já vamos direto aqui dar uma olhada primeiro no trailer, que tem o nome aqui de Story Trailer. Vamos dar uma olhada então. Parece ser um trailer mais tranquilo, né? Não deve ter tanta gameplay pelo nome.
James? Honey? Did something happen to you? After we got separated in that long hallway? Are you confusing me with someone else? You were always so forgetful. Remember that time in the hotel?
Are you taping again? Come on. I don't know why, but I just love it here. It's so peaceful.
In my restless dreams, I see that town.
Lendária
I promised
frase.
you'd take me there again someday. But you never did. Well, I'm alone there now, in our special place.
Just put the gun to their head.
You can't just kill someone because of the way they looked at you.
É que eu vejo, pô, o gráfico aqui tá bom pra caramba.
You should see your face, Jane.
Let go!
I'm sorry, Laura, but I can't let you just run around this place. You might get hurt.
Hurt by what?
This place is different from what I remember. I don't think she's here anymore.
This whole town. Might be best if you just get out of here.
Yeah, you're right.
You said you took everything. But you forgot that videotape we made.
How do you know about that? Aren't you Maria?
I'm not your Mary.
Pô, até a edição desse trailer tá
So
muito
you
foda.
are
A comparação com o
Maria.
outro, com a música.
I am. If you want me to be.
How do you know about Mary?
You see it too? For me, it's always like this.
Doesn't matter who I am. I am here for you, James. See? I'm real.
Pô, esse trailer aí eu ouso dizer que apesar de não ter mostrado gameplay, né, afinal, story trailer, né, cara, foi um dos melhores trailers que a gente teve aqui do Silent Hill 2, porque ele, pô, ele pegou uma vibe muito Silent Hill com a edição da música e tal. Pô, gostei bastante, clã. E vocês? O que vocês acharam? Mas bem, vamos dar uma olhada aqui agora numas hands-on, né? A gente teve alguns portais que botaram aqui hands-on, que é que a galera botou a mão no jogo e testou mesmo. Eu fiquei bastante curioso pra ver, né? Vai ser a primeira vez que a gente tem a impressão de alguém jogando o jogo. E a gente teve portais brasileiros que pegaram aqui pra fazer, mas eu vou pegar aqui o da IGN, tá? Que é mais neutro, assim, não sei. Eu sempre fico um pouco apreensivo de fazer react brasileiro. Os caras ficam...
Silent Hill.
Ever since the release of the Resident Evil 2 remake, developers have returned to the well en masse to give their classic games a new lease of life, more often than not with mixed results. From what I've seen so far, the upcoming Silent Hill 2 remake doesn't come close to hitting the heights of Resident Evil 2, a blueprint for how a great remake is made, but it certainly feels like developer Bloober Team has made a lot of the right decisions when building on the survival horror classic's undeniable legacy, even if at times it feels a little too safe.
É ser um pouco safe demais? Mas pera aí. Eu não sei o que ele vai falar, mas assim, pô, se os caras mudam muito, mudou muito. Mudou pouco, é safe demais. Aí é foda também, né? A gente tem que se decidir, pô.
I played the opening 3 hours of Silent Hill 2, and it was immediately apparent from the off
3
that the
horas
remake
pra caralho.
gracefully captures all the important elements. An oppressive tone and straightforward game mechanics, even when the task itself is being obtuse. As with any Silent Hill game, atmosphere is king, and Silent Hill 2 immediately and consistently puts you in a state of unease. A thick fog surrounds the town just like in the original, but now benefits from modern lighting and volume, thanks to today's technical improvements.
E a gente
The
não
streets
gostou
are now
muito da
filled with a
fog,
new
né?
level
Da
of
névoa, eu
detail,
gostei.
shops are explorable, and strange sounds, cries and groans are dynamically lurking around every corner. I can imagine it would have been incredibly tempting to layer music into the Silent Hill 2 remake, bringing the scares more in line with contemporary horror hits. But its slavish resistance is commendable, as the diegetic sounds of Silent Hill are where the game really sings, or rather drones. Every room in the Woodside apartments creates its own version of uneasy tension, subtly assaulting you with an oppressive, unearthly soundscape of pulses and organic audio.
Tem que ser assim, esse som, esse
From the
ruído
moment that
te
protagonist James enters Silent
acompanhando.
Hill, the onslaught of bad vibes is present, and it never lets up for a second. Often fear is driven by anticipation, but Silent Hill 2 is all anticipation, with the sounds of the lying figures and co being ever present. In some ways, it's a difficult state of mind to be locked into.
Meu Deus do céu, mano.
It's fair to say that Silent Hill 2 has stepped up its visual and audio game, but that's to be expected for a 2024 release. The bigger and perhaps more impactful change is perspective, with Silent Hill 2 adopting the trusty over-the-shoulder playstyle that's become a staple of the genre.
Sim.
What could have once been considered sacrilege for the series now serves the gameplay well, helping the unearthly combat encounters feel surprisingly familiar. Like the original, James's arsenal is limited, with the only available weapons in the section that I played being a handgun and his trusty wooden plank. Combat is certainly light and rudimentary, but Silent Hill 2
Leve e
was never
rudimentar.
about that. It's serviceable in a way that complements the character's ability, although I imagine it would have been extremely tempting for Bloober Team to strap James up Rambo style, although it would have been a disservice to the character and the story it's telling.
Ele fala que é rudimentar e tal, mas eu não sei se eu tô esperançoso. Eu não vejo isso, eu vejo que o combate tá ok, cara. Eu não vejo isso.
That's not to
Sem
say
ter
that James
jogado, né?
doesn't have a new move in his locker though. Silent Hill 2 implements a new dodge mechanic, allowing James to quickly dart out of the way of an enemy's
desvia dos
projectile vomit
bichos.
or
Eita
Pyramid
porra.
Head's swinging blade. It's a simple, quick shuffle, not a Dark Souls-like forward roll, but it's a tool that helped me quickly establish a swing, dodge rhythm before the lying figures threw up their guts all over me. Perhaps the biggest compliment I could give is that it's a move that feels like it always should have been in Silent Hill 2. From
Nossa,
what I've
não
seen so
pegou
far,
aquilo?
the story is largely faithful, and I visited all the locations I expected to in the first few hours. The opening jaunt through the streets of Silent Hill is expanded though, tasking you to solve a puzzle involving a jukebox, and forcing you to visit several of the town's locations. Along the way, there's plenty to examine further and marvel at the detail layered into this once sparse location. While purists may scoff at this addition, I feel like it's a smart move that encourages you to spend a little more time roaming in the iconic foggy streets. And it's certainly a welcome addition before you spend a large portion of the game funneled down dark hallways in a largely linear path. Fans of the original will be happy to hear that the remake doesn't hold back with its returning puzzles. Like the original, the
a gente
remake
tinha visto
scales
isso,
clues
né?
based on your difficulty level. But even on the normal difficulty setting, I found some puzzles momentary head scratchers that encouraged me to truly absorb my surroundings,
Cara,
especially after
eu quero muito ver o quão fiel vai ser o puzzle, porque eu tenho a intenção de jogar, né? Eu já até baixei aqui o jogo no PC, aquela edição refeita e tal. O quão fiel que vai ser o puzzle em relação ao remake, né? Se a pessoa que jogou o original já vai ter pistas do puzzle.
hard switching from my kill everything that moves headspace. Fans of the 2001 classic and the Resident Evil series know exactly what kind of thing to expect. using environmental clues to solve riddles and combinations. But it felt like there was a little less signposting in Silent Hill 2 than in its peers. It's hard for me to quantify this, but all I can say is that my usual urge to brute force the puzzles was quickly replaced by a wish to legitimately solve them. Hopefully that speaks to the puzzle's design and not the pressures of the PlayStation environment.
Não chegou a comentar sobre o ponto que a gente trouxe, né? Mas os puzzles parecem tão bons que a gente tem que observar.
Classic has been clever, but it's not perfect. The dialogue and performances still feel a little too campy and silly for my taste, often taking me out of the super serious tone.
No, you shouldn't be here.
Unlike Resident Evil, where the campy nature is a big part of the vibe, Silent Hill in 2024 requires a subtle touch to complement the same masterful approach in atmosphere and sound design.
Será? Vocês concordam com isso? Eu não sei se eu concordo. Ele falou que Resident Evil é... Ó... Como é que é? Ó, Resident Evil... Me tirando do tom super sério.
Unlike Resident Evil, where the campy nature is a big part of the vibe,
onde a natureza exagerada é parte da vibe. Resident Evil, a natureza exagerada é parte da vibe? Quero ouvir de vocês, eu não concordo não.
Hill in 2024 requires a subtle touch to complement the same masterful approach in atmosphere and sound design. Purists may celebrate its faithful remaking of the original lines, but I felt like there was an opportunity here for some subtle tweaks. I only got a small taste of the dialogue though, and Silent Hill 2 isn't exactly known for long conversations, so perhaps it's not any kind of deal breaker.
You didn't love Mary anyway.
What? Hey, wait!
Another irksome inclusion is the logical but slightly tedious activity of opening countless kitchen cupboards and drawers to collect handgun ammo and healing items, similar in a way to modern games like The Last of Us. It makes sense on paper, organically placing your collectible items in realistic locations, but I can't help feel like it took me out of the atmosphere, altering my thought process from fear to loot every time I entered a new room. Maybe it says more about me than the game, but several times after entering a room, I was jumped on by a hidden mannequin because I had prioritized scouring for pickups instead of enemies.
Pô, de novo. A gente tem que botar os itens do jogo em algum lugar. Visto que é um jogo que agora ficou em terceira pessoa, a gente tem que botar eles em lugares, né? Terceira pessoa, digo, over the shoulder. Tem que botar eles nos lugares. Não entendi essa reclamação.
Disappointingly, from what I've seen so far of Silent Hill 2, it doesn't appear to incorporate my favorite feature the best remakes tend to have. Taking your expectations based on what you know about the original and subverting them. 2002's Resident Evil Remake, which played around with the dogs jumping through the window jump scare that all fans expected, is the perfect example of how this can be expertly crafted. The approach allows for tension of a fake out and the creative space to drop new scares in where you least expect it. The Silent Hill 2 remake doesn't appear to have any real moments like that, and ultimately, no real big swings that change the landscape for hardcore fans. At least not what I saw in the opening 3 hours.
Esse é um ponto assim que eu entendo dele. Esse é um ponto que eu entendo dele. Porque, tipo assim, se a gente for jogar o Silent Hill 2 e tal, a gente tá com ele bem fresquinho na cabeça, aí vai jogar, meio que a gente já sabe tudo o que esperar em relação à nossa experiência como jogador, né? Pra jogar ali. É legal fazer essa parada, igual ele falou com o Resident Evil, né? Que, até Resident Evil 2 ele faz isso também com o Leaker e tal. Então, isso é legal pro jogador veterano, né? Pra quem já jogou o original e quebrar um pouco a expectativa, mas sem tirar a originalidade do bagulho, né? Tipo, o Leaker ainda apareceu, o cachorro ainda apareceu no Resident Evil 1, mas, assim, quebrar um pouco essa expectativa. Mas também só jogou... ele jogou 3 horas, eu não sei o quanto que ele conseguiu avançar 3 horas, eu acho bastante. Mas vamos ver se no jogo final eles fazem
remake,
isso.
Silent Hill 2 falls more in line with Bluepoint's faithful Shadow of the Colossus rather than Capcom's rejuvenated Resident Evil 2. It substitutes bold new swings for a slavish dedication to the original, which by no means is a bad thing, just not the radical...
Não, aí eu tenho que discordar mais uma vez. Como é que você tem coragem de falar que o Silent Hill 2, que tá refazendo a gameplay, que tá botando assim umas coisas novas pelo que a gente viu ali, ele é a mesma coisa que o Shadow of the Colossus, que é só um update gráfico.
Steps some might expect. Silent Hill 2 certainly needed a fresh coat of paint and a tune of the engine, and Bloober Team has provided that in spades. But everything else is an extremely faithful reimagining that mostly resists the urge to alter the successful formula of a stone cold classic. And if you like that video and you want to find out more about Silent Hill 2, then be sure to stick with IGN.
É isso, rapaziada. Tivemos aqui o hands-on. Cara, eu não entendi algumas das reclamações, tá? Da IGN. Umas eu concordo, mas nem dá pra gente reclamar disso, sabe? Igual ele falou de fazer outra coisa. É um negócio legal de se ter pra surpreender o fã, pra surpreender o cara que já tá esperando alguma coisa. Mas não é uma coisa necessariamente ruim ser extremamente fiel. Nunca será. Ser extremamente fiel é uma coisa ruim, né? Eu só vi coisa positiva. Eu estou sendo muito otimista, estou sendo muito esperançoso. Deixa abaixo o que você achou aqui nos comentários, tanto do trailer quanto dessa hands-on. E galera, se curtiu o vídeo, não esquece de deixar aquele crítico aí no like. Se inscreve no canal e segue a gente nas nossas redes sociais. Pode ser, fica por aqui. Valeu, um abraço, até mais e fui!